What's going on, guys? So today I just read an article about ABC News, and as you know, or Good Morning America in particular. I said ABC News. I meant to say Good Morning America. And you know, T.J. Holmes lost his job because he was sleeping with a lady that he worked with, a lady who he wasn't married to. Of course, this is not appropriate, and none of this is cool. But here's what's interesting. So I read this article in OK. And they basically said that there's a lady who was a former staffer with Good Morning America who said that the sex culture in the workplace was pretty rampant, that everybody was sleeping with everybody, that they were basically, she described them as a bunch of horny high school kids who learned how to do news in the 80s, and that everybody was sleeping with everybody, and it was all kind of a complete mess. And one of the things she also mentioned that was really interesting is she said that it was very common because people were working these long shifts and they didn't have time to have a life outside of work. So they would just look at each other, the people they were working next to all the time and whatever, and things would just sort of happen. And so this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it obviously says TJ Holmes wasn't the only one. And there's other people that were kind of doing the same thing. But then number two, it should make you sort of question this idea that despite the fact that for thousands of years, people that work together become attracted to each other. In fact, if you're watching this video, put it in the chat if you've ever worked with somebody all the time, every day, and then kind of found yourself connecting with the person that you're connected to all the time. I mean, this is nature, right? And the idea that somehow this is all supposed to shut off because you're at work and you want to be professional 100% of the time and you're not human anymore, I don't know if that standard makes sense. I think they have to have different reporting protocols. We can't walk around like a bunch of Puritans, in this world that we live in. But then the other thing that's interesting is they talked about the power dynamics and how they said, well, he was clearly exploiting you because the lady who wrote this article or who made these statements about the workplace culture, she slept with T.J. Holmes, and they said, well, look at the power dynamic. He was exploiting you because he's more powerful than you, and this whole conversation. And she said, I didn't even think about the power dynamic. She said, we just all worked together and we just all did what we were doing. And this is another thing too. I think that it's really insidious to blame the sex culture on men. Women are powerful. Women can choose who they want to sleep with. I'm not saying that there aren't inappropriate situations or where someone uses their power to kind of control another person. But if somebody, remember that sometimes it's not the man who's hitting on the woman. Sometimes the woman hits on the man. And it's not the man who says all the time. I'm not saying this is true or not. You can judge it on your own. But it's not always the man who says, hey, if you sleep with me, I'm going to give you a promotion. Sometimes it's the woman who says, hey, I'll sleep with you if you hook me up. Right? Or because I'm sleeping with you, you better hook me up or I'm going to go tell HR and you're going to lose your job. So I think that there's a more nuanced conversation that needs to be had that's not going to be had in the Me Too movement or not going to be had in the context of political correctness or feminism. Into being correct, not being politically correct. I also think that you have to be really cautious. Like if you have black sons that are tall and handsome and going to be working in these workplace environments, you got to tell them to be careful. Don't sleep with people that you work with if you can help it. I'm not saying that sometimes things happen or whatever, but you're putting a line because if you look at TJ Holmes and you look at Ime Udoka, notice that when TJ and Ime were sleeping with white women on the job, they looked at the black men as the predators and the white women as the innocent victims. And that's just not the case. In many cases, they want a piece of that big chocolate bar that's standing in front of them. And y'all know what it is. Y'all know how the world works. So anyway, feel free to leave your comments in the chat if you want to. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. If you go to my website, boycewatkins.com, you can take a look at my new book. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I have a whole set of ideas in terms of how you can prepare your family economically. My PhD's in finance. You guys know this. And also, there's a lecture I just did on how to make money without working. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com and take a look at all of that. All right, guys, have a good day. I'll see you soon. Take care now. Peace.